SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this. He's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome, everybody, to the SmashFactor, the 2020-21 edition of the RSM Classic, Week 11 on the PGA Tour season. Coming hot off the heels of a awesome Masters. Obviously, DJ being new age, I guess. When he's kind of old. I mean, hell, he's my age. But for me, my favorite golfer outside of, you just kind of put Tiger into a different era. So it's good. I didn't think it was going to get emotional like it was last year. Tiger was super, super emotional for many reasons. I think anybody can say that. A lot of attachment there in the industry. Coupled with, I have kids now, and so watching his family and all that kind of stuff, and you kind of knew his backstory. I just love DJ. Everybody knows that. I've been on him many times. He's won me a ton of money, and he won more this weekend between DFS and betting just in general through the years. He's easily my best ROI guy. And then seeing him get choked up was a definitely, that's when it was like a little different, because you used to never see him show emotions. I didn't think he would. I thought he'd hold it. When I saw his brother start kind of tearing up on the green, because he was kind of funny. I was talking, my cousin was here, and when he hit his putt, I was like, watch, he's going to go up there and tap that in because he just doesn't give a fuck. And he was like, well, why? He would do that, right? And I was like, no, I mean, most guys in that case, they would mark it, let everybody finish, and let him get the last putt in to kind of celebrate it. And I was like, DJ just doesn't care. And he, sure enough, he went up there and tapped it in and stood on the green and watched those guys finish. You saw his brother kind of tearing up. You kind of knew probably be emotional a little bit, but I didn't think he'd get choked up like he did talking to Amanda. So that was it was great to watch. Fun tournament in general. Kind of recap that here in a minute. For me, obviously hangover week, you could say it that, but there's also it's the strongest field probably the RSM's ever had. I assume a lot of guys that are here, I don't know, because I'm like, well, maybe they don't want to go back home, especially overseas because quarantine and all that, then have to come back in January. But I would figure they're going to go home for the holidays anyways. But who knows? I don't know why most are playing. It could also be they played more golf up until this point in the quote unquote fall swing than ever before. So some of them maybe want to just ride their form, go ahead and play. I mean, it's a big, nice tournament, 500 FedEx points. And for the most part, a lot of these guys are going to probably take off till January. Some will play, Mycoba here in a couple weeks and then rest. So I think unless they were just, exhausted, worn out, travel, they decided to come play it. Whatever reason, different year. You want to get as many tournaments as you can in while they're there. You never know what the schedule is going to look like. I mean, we come out of holidays and have another lockdown. No one knows. So I could see why a lot of people decide to go ahead and play, which is great. We get a good field, way better than we're used to. So, kind of excited once I saw the field coming together Sunday night and even into tomorrow or yesterday. So it'll be fun to talk about some leverage play, some pricing tier gap, which I talk about a lot that we'll get into. I will cover the Mycoba. It'll be late, a lot lighter that week. There's no shot tracker anyway, so showstoppers is limited. You basically get the par birdie type information, which anybody can go look up. But I at least try to put the charts out because it makes it easier to look through. This will be the last week for the Smash Squad, then be a light week that week for Mycoba, and then come back full go for tournament champion, Sony Open, stuff like that. So little break there in golf. Obviously full fledged still on football. College football getting a little worrisome. Don't know how you'll take each game as we can. There's been a lot of cancellations lately, a couple more, one tonight, supposed to be a 3-game slate, it's a 2-game slate. NFL seems to be going along pretty well. We'll kind of see how that keeps moving. College football, you're also seeing a lot of guys once their team is kind of out of any contention this year. Not a lot, but there are several key guys, especially ones that think they're going to go high in the draft, going ahead and opting out. And some are just can opt out, and they can still come back next year because there's no loss of eligibility for any players. So it's a lot to keep your eyes on. We'll have plenty of coverage on all that as we go through these last couple months in the season, and then move into, full-fledged golf in the spring, work on some updates for the PGA tool site. The Green Machine got some updates there we're going to add in, and then we're continuing to build the foundation, the football tools, come back in 2021 with those. That'll be massively upgraded by the time we get back next summer. But for this week, last week review, actually a sub DM'd me Sunday morning, and he was like, hey, we still have, you released the DJ double from the Players, which is the tournament that they played Thursday. Then it was during the COVID deal. And so they played Thursday and then they canceled the rest of the tournament. And that's when the lockdown kind of began for everybody. It was the last tournament they at least started before the big break until June. And I went back through my, on the site. I was like, did I actually release it or just talk about it? And I did. I just forgot about it. Obviously 4-month break of nothing going on, that I released a double that I don't remember what it paid. It paid a lot. DJ to win the Players and DJ to win the Masters. Well, it didn't get canceled. It just got downgraded to basically we had DJ 14-1 because that's what he was to win the Masters back there in March. So many of the subs, especially the ones that were there when I released it, it cashed Sunday. So that was a nice surprise. Just pure not having seen that stuff for 4 months with the big break. I forgot that was one of my doubles that week. Did go back and confirm it, and it was. So that helped a little bit on the week. Didn't get the double this week on. I had DJ obviously, but I think it was Cantley and Brooks are the two I went with. Neither really got up there to flirt. I thought Rahm was going to maybe have a good Rahm or Rory Sunday and be a little bit mad at myself because I don't know if I'd went Rory, but I did consider Rahm in that Quinella type bet and didn't pull the trigger there. But neither did. Obviously, Cam Smith played lights out, finished second. I think tied second with Sungjae. If I remember, Sungjae was incredible as well. My main slate returned 22% ROI on DK, so solid week there. Had some sweat, going into Sunday on the main slate. Bubba, Finau were the main two that kind of just didn't have good weekends, and really Bubba I think shot 6 over or something on Sunday, and that kind of hurt my 6 of 6s, a lot of them that I had sweat on. My best lineup, I think I got as high as 20 something in the millie. Fell down a little late, but not a bad day. And then obviously Showdown was kind of the king for me this week. Round one, I think I finished second in the 275 and decent in the other one, the 15 or whatever it was. Won about 5K on round one. Round two, round three, about break even-ish. And then, of course, the big sweat Sunday. Went with CT Pan. Had 3 lineups in the 555 and several in the $20. 20 was actually, I thought, going to be my sweat because I had some nice builds in there that were just going back and forth. A little bit bigger round 4 than normal, so which was nice. It was fun to have that. And then slowly, I think Reed started kind of falling apart a little bit. He was in that lineup, so I thought I was kind of done. It's such a tight window up there. But I knew I had Pan, and he was just doing okay, like -1, -2. But of course, was playing a little bit difficult. And I was like, well, if he can just finish okay at 1%, that's a huge leverage in the field. And then when he birdied 15, 16, 17, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll be up there top 10, have a chance. Cause I wasn't really checking it. I was just trying to enjoy it. That kind of stuff. I don't watch like every shot with DraftKings, and I happened to jump back in there and saw I was like 4th, and I was like, okay. Reed, although didn't finish great, got 2 good pars on 17, 18. At that point I had moved up and I was winning, and it really kind of looked at all the guys that were right there with me. 2 of them were subs, which was awesome. The Sheik, who's done tremendous. He won one of the GC Cup leagues going away, the big one, the Diamond Woods. I was in there with him, but did a tremendous job there. And B-Wag was up there. There was another one, 4 GC guys all in the top 10 there, battling back and forth for a while. I think B-Wag had Tiger, so when his implosion happened on 10, it kind of hurt him a little bit. But Tiger finished strong with all his birdies, so really came down to Sung Jae. I was kind of looking at everybody. I was like, all right, out of these guys up top, even though Sung Jae was decently owned, I was the only one that kind of had him, I think, up there with all the combinations. Cam Champ had like 8 birdies, but he only shot like +1 or -1 or something that day because he had a quad on a par 3 and I think a triple on a par 3. So 7 over on the par 3s, but in DK it didn't hurt. I mean, that's another example of it doesn't hurt you as bad because you get so many. And even if you go look at Cam Shank for the main slate, like he way outperformed his finishing position in DraftKings points because he made so many birdies and the Eagles come in that a triple or a quad doesn't hurt you near as much as getting an eagle. That's why Tiger really didn't affect. It did at the moment when you get a 10, that obviously sucks. But when he came back and got 4 or 5 birdies coming in, you know, he outperformed. If you take those 5 birdies and that 10 versus, 6 pars, Tiger, those points are worth way more. So all about the scoring. We always remind you, we are still playing the game. You got to take that into consideration, which is one reason why I took Champ. I was like, all right, he's got the power and it was playing good enough. I was still worried about the short game, especially knowing Sunday was going to play difficult or more difficult than they had seen. But obviously he finished well. Sung Jae, when that ball went over 15, that was a big part for me. I thought it was in the water and I was going to pretty much end it for me, and it stayed up. But you need those kind of breaks, right? And then I was like, all right, can he please say par here? And hit one hell of a chip right up to the pin, birdied it. I was like, all right, we got a chance now. And obviously wound up winning it. It was a great day, 50,000 up top. So all in all, amazing week for me. Grind out the year. Now I'm, I don't think I know I wasn't down on the year in golf, but just flirting around even-ish because I start out so bad. MLB has been hot for me. College football has been hot for me. And golf's just been all right. And the last month's been like terrible. When I say terrible, like I'm losing like 60% of that weekly bankroll, 70%, or getting right up to even. And you're like, you just grind and grind and grind. And so then you come out with a week like this and, you're way up on the year now. So certainly fun. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed having DJ win. My big keys probably, I was 100% fade on Bryson. Mentioned it. I said it all week. He almost was a really good fade as he gets in on the number, but he really didn't do nothing on the weekend. He scored, he had some birdies. And I think, I think he may have had an eagle or two. But I just didn't see. I just think Augusta's a course that if your irons aren't just hot and you can't putt well, it's gonna be difficult playing there. I don't care how far you hit it. I just don't. I think that hopefully I proved it. And I'll say the same thing in April. It doesn't mean I'll fade him, but I heard a lot. I mean, there's some people that faded the DJ chalk, and I was like, all right, I can see that. But if you faded the DJ chalk and then went to Bryson, I was like, well, Bryson wasn't that much lower owned than DJ. Obviously, DJ came in a little bit higher than I had even thought, but at the price savings of DJ and the ownership being, decently the same. I mean, yeah, DJ was a little bit higher. Man, I still would have, I'd rather go way overweight on DJ, save the money, especially in a tournament where you're trying to fit in 2 good ones. And I saw a lot of the lineups that had Bryson and DJ, that's perfectly fine. But my strategy was 100% fade on Bryson. I was 100% fade on Kokrak except for my 150 build in the $5. So I had 0 Kokrak in I think I put 50 into the $20 milli. The only contest I had Kokrak in. So in all, I was about 1/4 of the field in Kokrak in general, because he was only in 100 lineups in that 150 build for the $5. So those are kind of my 2 spots I decided to take light on, even though I kind of like Kokrak, but with his high ownership, I mean, you had to pick your spots, and that's with anybody in the industry. And, we're trying to do our best to talk about it. And, and if someone wanted to fade DJ, I could see that. You're like, all right, that's my spot this week. It's still hard for me to do just because of how great a form he was in. And as I mentioned, I certainly said on E9 with Kenny is he would have been the highest priced or worst case right below Bryson. But I think with the course history, if they would have priced it on Monday after Houston, I think DJ would have been the highest priced guy, and that changes the whole slate. Different type of situation, but being the lowest of the 10K range, I just couldn't get over it. And I was like, I know he's going to be chalky. That's fine. I just got to eat it. And luckily the community did well. I mean, we had a lot of big hits. We had another guy win at 50,000 on the main slate. A lot of green screens. It was a tremendous week all the way around for Gup's Corner. I will announce the March to the Master winners at the end of the pod. So excited for that, and excited for a good week this week. I think we're going to have I think this is a good tournament to take on. Probably more of an MME build. I'll get into that in a second. Listener League is up. I'll put it in the podcast. I've already tweeted it, put it in Slack. Last week, like I said, all majors and maybe WGCs, we'll see. The top three will get in, and the single tournaments, normal tournaments, we'll just do the winner only. So those three are in, and they've already accepted. Fieldman 77, Shinder 2, and Gaspo 1. Fieldman won it with 604, had DJ, D-Cham, so there's one that had both. Cam Smith, Scheffler, Fratelli, Connors. I thought I was going to kick myself, and I think I hadn't looked at it yet because I still did all right. I mean, 22% on that week, I'll take it, ROI. But my last 2v2 in my bullet, and I did it in the 1500, and I cashed, so I was okay with it. But it was I think it was Fratelli and Scott versus Finau and Connors, and I went with Finau and Connors because Connors was one of my favorite plays. We hit the top 20 bet on him this week. Well, boy, going into that last little bit Saturday morning as round 2 is rounding up, I thought I was going to kick myself because it looked like Finau was going to miss the cut. Of course, Fratelli is just going off. He was at second, I think, at that point. Connors was doing well for me, but Monday, round 1, I think he was +2, and he shot 7 under round 2. So he came back. That kind of made up for it. At the end of the day, it all worked out. But, those two I was high on. I played some Scheffler. My one mistake was I was super, super light on Cam Smith, and he was a chalky guy that I kind of moved off of, and, liked him, but he was my spot, my DJ to kind of go off this week. And that, that's why I probably only had 22%, because the rest of my builds were great. I had a lot of 6-6s, a lot of DJ, way overweight on DJ, and just didn't have much Cam Smith. So as he kept being there and making incredible shots, Sunday he made some of the, just most amazing shots out of nowhere. And kudos to him, great playing. It definitely was hurting me not being able to climb the leaderboard. That's about it. I don't want to go and regurgitate everything. We all watched it, sitting in a tournament that people weren't into. I enjoyed it. It was amazing. I'm glad we get to 5 months from now, go right back through it. Appreciate the community, the support. We had a lot of new people in. You guys are buying the new hoodies and hats. That's great. Go ahead and get in there, get you some bought before we take the pre-sale down, especially you boys up in the Northeast. You're going to love them. Tournament preview this week, as always, I'll send you over to my boy Kenny Kim at the Fantasy DGen Pod. His course preview is already up on the site for premium members. If you want to join, you can do 15% off with GC15 right now on any package, annual or monthly. It's all, obviously RSM Classics played on 2 courses, Seaside and Plantation. Kenny does an amazing job going into all that. Seaside is a course they'll play 3 rounds at. They play and this started the 2-course rotation in 2015. So that's all I kind of looked at. They play it so they can get at this late of the year, as we saw with the Masters, so they can get a full field. So there's 151, I think, right now, with some Monday qualifiers to come. Let's see. Yeah, 151 was in the DK database. Put them on both courses, Thursday and Friday, and then they'll make the cut and play Seaside on the weekend. So they have enough daylight to get everybody through and still host a full field. Seaside's the main course, par 70, plays a little bit more difficult than Plantation historically. Still both in the probably top half of easier courses on the course when you look at it as a whole throughout the whole season. Plantation's a par 72. Par 5s are gettable by almost anybody. I'll list the winners in a second. You can tell that you don't have to be a bomber by any means to win out here. You're going to have some overseeded Bermuda greens this time of year. Biggest factor out here is the wind, and there actually is some pretty good wind chances this week. So I have to keep an eye on it. I don't think, as I'm looking right now, there'll be much of a wave advantage, but there could be, because now we got to take into consideration who's playing what course on what day. And let's say Thursday is a worse wind day. There could be an advantage to playing the guys that play Plantation Thursday, then they get the easier wind day Friday on Seaside. So because of the different courses, we could have some heat maps this week for the premium members. So we'll keep an eye on that. And it's going to be the wind. There's a little bit of rain late Thursday night right now, but that's about it. It doesn't even look like it's going to be raining when the guys are on the course, but I'm more concerned about the wind, especially the way these courses play. It's going to be warm though, lows in the 60s, highs, high 60s, mid 70s at time. So not cold or anything like that. The only big advantage this week will be, is there a wind draw? And there can be, if it looks like it's just to be horrendous wind on Thursday, could be a big advantage to play the easier course on Thursday than get the harder course on Friday. But we'll see. We'll get more to that when we get towards tomorrow afternoon. Cut, I'm going to go about -2, -3. I think the course will play a little harder with that wind in general than it has in the past, but still not crazy. And I'm going to go around -17, 18 for the winner. If you look at the 5 years that they've been doing the rotation, the winning scores have been 19, 19, 21, 17, 22. So you can tell, and there's probably been wins some of those years, there had to have been, right? But even when that is, they can still score decently around this place. So I still think it's going to be around that 18, 19 under number. So, your birdie and better, stuff like that's definitely going to matter. Win players could be taking uptick. So that's some of the stuff we'll look at the deep dive in. You've got Kisner, Mackenzie Hughes, Austin Cook, Charles Howe, and Tyler Duncan, little T-dunks there, winning 3 of the 5 years it's gone to a playoff, just to note, maybe a prop bet there. The Mackenzie Hughes year was a 5-man playoff. So Blaine Barber, Billy Ho, Norlander, and Camille Vegas. So other runner-ups, Webb, Rogers, JJ Spawn. So you can kind of see the guys. You're not getting big bombers off the tee. That's not important this week. It's definitely going to be your iron play, your around the green, and putting. You look back at the percentage of strokes gained putting versus the total. This is a higher percentage than some, and so I think the Bermuda splits do matter this week, and we'll definitely bring that into consideration on the deep dive stuff for sure. 25 players out of the 151 have not played this course in the last 4 years, so a high amount have. There's not a lot of correlation to, other than probably Webb, and we'll definitely get into him. But even Webb missed the cut in 2017. But there's guys that'll finish 3rd, miscut, 17th, 36th, 20th, miscut, 27th. So, miscut, 25th, 37, miscut. So I don't know if the advantage is huge, miscut 4th, 46 miscut. If it's huge, it probably helps, but very few have, just always done well here. Webb, 36, miscut, 3rd and 2nd. So he's one that's done well here. Harmon, miscut, 4th, 32nd, 14th. But like a lot of these guys, Norlander's one that, I got my eye on, we'll get to, but he hasn't missed a cut in the last 4 years. 2nd, 54th, 5th. So even the 2 that he made the cut, he is still on the back end of it. But course history definitely not as high, nowhere near as high as last week, but it matters to an extent to me. I don't think I'll even really use it as a tiebreaker. This week, I'll more, how does the course play out and the players, more of the course fit stuff, and especially if we get into win players and stuff like that, if we think it's going to be crazy. And if guys know where to miss here, that may come into an advantage if it is going to be super, super windy. So knowing the course may matter, but I don't think knowing the course means you're automatically that much more advantage, as we've seen with so many good finishes tied with miscuts. It is going to be a hard cut, especially now with T65 and ties. You got 151. I'm sure you're going to get 3 or I did see Teeters in. I saw that this morning. He'll be a guy that I hadn't written up or talked about for this because, I didn't know the Monday Qs when I did all this last night. But so you're going to have 100, call it 53, 54, 55 guys, and only 65 get in. So kind of back to that full field. We'll probably be back in that 2, 3, under 5%, 6 to 6 would be my guess, no matter what. So back, let's get back in that mentality. That was a different strategy to an extent, and we'll definitely be talking about that. But, taking some risk here or there because low 6-6 probability, a strong 5-6 could still do some stuff. Where do we want to take our risk at this week? Key stats for me, I'm going good approaches, stroke gain, iron, ball striking, birdie or better, and then stroke gain, short game, which I rarely bring into the actual model, but I did this week because it will blend a little bit of around the green, and it does bring in the putting. And I only focused on Bermuda on that sense because I think it does matter so much this week, which is a rare week. I probably 5 times a year max I'll ever look at strokes gained short game as an isolation part of my model. I always bring putting into the deep dive, but I did this week. Overall strategy, the ranges this week kind of balanced up top. You got 5 in the 10K, 7 in the 9K, 11 in the 8K, 42 in the 7K, and 86 in the 6K. So still a lot, that 6 and 7K. The key difference here is we've talked about this a lot, the talent gap. So last week, the talent gap between the guys in the 10K to the 7K, for the most part, was pretty significant. You had some of the best players in the world. I think this was the first time ever. I think it was after the second round. I can't remember. I remember them saying it, that the top 3 guys in the world were all tied for first after any round in any major, something to that extent. That's paraphrasing, but cream rise to the crop for the most part. Obviously, and Cam Smith kind of stood out, when Rory was there late after horrendous round 1, then played strong. Rahm didn't play well on Sunday, finished pretty good, so he was still up there. Brooks hung around all week, was up there. Here you're going to have, this will be the kind of my main focus is the gap between 9,700 Brooks and whoever, even I don't remember what Kokrak was, versus this week where you get, I don't want to pick on Neiman, he's coming off the coat, but Harris English 9,700 versus Sam Burns 7,700. That talent gap, or that, the split in hairs, or the difference of what those two could potentially finish. Even Joel Damon 7,400. It's a lot closer than what you were dealing with last week. So I think you can take some chances. I'm not real fired up about the 6s. There are a few guys in there I like, but I love the 7s this week. And I think you could play 3 or 4 guys in the 7s and allow you to do whatever you want to do up top. The difference in the guys in the 7s to 8 isn't that much to me. And there's a lot in the 7s that I consider better than the 8, and even some in the 9. So I think the sticker shock, we have to just not worry about how much they are. And then it could be a week where you leave more on the table than normal. Pause, the web factor. And I'll get into that in just a minute. But as far as strategy goes, I was like, all right, I faded Webb last year. He got second. I barely played him in 2018. He got third. He's clearly pound for pound, talent-wise here, the best pedigree, right? He's 11-2. He's number 1 pricing. But at first I was going to be a fade this week, but then I was like, because of the pricing, and so I think so many guys are viable down low compared to the 8s and 9s. I do think he's going to be a high own, but it's a risk reward. Is it worth fading him if you think you can be unique elsewhere? I don't know. Is this a DJ week like last week where you're like, just load him? I don't care how expensive he is. I'm not sure I'm there yet. I think Henley's a solid play. Sungjae obviously showed amazing. I worry a little bit about Sungjae's fatigue, but if it wasn't Sungjae, I'd really worry, but the dude just loves golf. So I'm not crazy finished, but he finished second. He's probably feeling good. I heard he's about to buy a house in Atlanta finally. So I think for me up there, it's going to get into ownership and where I can get leverage, because down low, there's so many options there. That's not a concern for me. So we'll get into it. If you missed last week or you're very new, switch up the format. We got the Sweet 16, 3 picks, 4 tiers. And then I have a bubble boy for each tier. So that gets us our 16. I do the flop, fade, and sleeper. And then I got 4 guys that are not very high, like probably outside the top 30, 40 in my rankings right now. But I just kind of have a gut feeling on some other stuff. Potential guys. Fratelli was one of those last week that I go through. Then we'll do a little betting strategy and kind of wrap it up. No one and done this week. No GC Cup this week. We'll do the winners and the final thoughts and get out of here. Let you guys enjoy your week. First tier, 9K or above. I'm going to start with Russell Henley, 10-1. best iron player in the tournament, maybe best iron player. I wouldn't go above DJ, but one of the top 10 and anywhere right now. He's just hitting the ball extremely well. Iron play is just phenomenal. Number one in ball striking his field, number one in stroke gain iron, 7 in good approach, 29th at the Houston, 4th at the Zozo. Another one of those guys. He got a 10th here and then 2 missed cuts. So hit or miss. I think he's playing as good as he has. Maybe, I don't know about ever, but his form's phenomenal. He's 1,100 cheaper than Simpson. I certainly don't mind playing him if he's going to be less owned than a Simpson. Saving money may not be a big deal this week, but if it is, I mean, you're saving 1,100. So I like Henley to get it started. I like Munoz. $9,000 seems like a great price for him. 19th last week at the Masters, performed well. He was one of the kind of new guys that I did play, especially in GPPs. A 3rd here last year, so I like that. 2 missed cuts prior to it. Again, just a hit or miss with this tournament. So he's top 5 in stats for me, top 7 in recent form, top 9 in course fit. So at 9,000, I think he's a great play this week. I'll be on him. We'll kind of see how the ownership looks, but I'm not going to repeat that 10 times because ownership, I think, is going to matter this week to an extent because there's going to be pockets with so many guys here where you can get leverage, and there's just going to be a solid amount of guys that you like and you can go to. But I think you can play chalk just like last week with DJ. You just got to pick and choose the spots that you want to avoid and be off of. Last is Sung Jae. I love him. The way his short game was phenomenal last week. His putting splits on Bermuda versus anything else is his best, which I love. I mean, so he did all right last week. Most of his was around the green. He was phenomenal last week, but I like that he does well on Bermuda like that. He's only played here once in 2018, got a 37th, so made the cut. Last 3 tournaments, 41st, 50th, and 2nd, obviously at the Masters. His stats are still a little off. If you go long-term, they're better. But, obviously he went through a rough patch after the reboot, and I don't know what all caused that, but I think his form is, and we talked about this last 2 or 3 weeks, is coming around strongly. I don't know how many people want to click him at 11,000 versus Webb. And so if that's a good pivot point, I love Sung Jae this week if we can get huge leverage over Webb, but we'll have to see how that turns out as we get closer to tomorrow night. 2nd tier, and my bubble boy is Neiman. That's probably, and the only reason why he's a bubble boy and not an automatic play, he's 7th in my entire model, is, how does he come back from we've seen good and bad when guys have had to take the break from COVID and all that. I'm sure he was disappointed, didn't get to play the Masters. He's 9,100. I think because of that narrative, he could be low owned. So he certainly will be right there. And that's why he was my bubble boy, really, is how's the effect of COVID testing affect his ownership. I assume he's going to be lower owned, being that high up in pricing. And I mean, I love him this week. 7th in my model overall. I have him. I could start a lineup Munoz Neiman perfectly fine if he'll fine with it. No problems doing that. So going to be right there as my bubble boy this week. 8K range. I'll go right back to Corey Connors. Huge price bump. Maybe that pulls some people off of him. Played here twice, a 37th and a 23rd. His last 3 tournaments, an 8th at the Zozo, 24th at Houston, 10th at Masters. He's playing great. After a little rough start Thursday, and even I think some of the guys in Slack were even saying this, even though he wasn't scoring well on Thursday, like he was hitting the fairways and stuff, his short game was just not on. And then he goes out and shoots 7 under, and then obviously had a great last 3 days. I like him. I'll go right back to him. Another guy whose putting splits have him up in the top 15 for me on Bermuda. Got no problem playing 8,900 Connors. Next up, Brian Harmon, right below Connors, 8,500. Miscut for him here 4 years ago, then a 4th, a 32nd, and a 14th. So solid course history. Last 2 tournaments for him, 26th and a 24th at Houston. Obviously didn't play last week. Just solid all the way around. 9th in my stat model, 10th overall, 8,500. Love the pricing. Love him. Next, Doc, no brainer there for me. Everybody knows I love some Doc. He's my free bet of the week, 55-1. He's a little higher in some places. Make sure you test that around. I haven't officially put it on my stuff for the card yet, but I released that a little bit later. Played here last year, 23rd. This is when he was kind of starting to come out a little bit. Bermuda. The Bermuda, he finished 4th. Houston, 61st. 12th in my stat model. Iron play has been okay. That's kind of if he can get his irons on, which I think he can. I mean, he can do well. He's second in approach for me, 18th in ball striking, 26th in birdie or better. Like his scoring ability and upside. I think he'll probably be chalkier on 8, and he may be one that I just have to eat the chalk on and fade somewhere else. But I do like Redmond this week. Bubble Boy for me was Kokrak. I just want to see how people react to him and the industry and where. So there's 8,700. He obviously missed the cut, cost a lot of people 6-6s. Stat wise, he's third for me. Recent form, he's third for me. 6th overall in my model. Doesn't have the best history here. 45th in a missed cut, but hadn't played it since 2017. I mean, the way in general he was striking the ball, he's certainly in play. And if this is a bounce back week where everybody just goes off of him, certainly will be in the play. That's the only thing he was on the bubble for, is I want to see, does everybody want to go back to him? Are we off him now because he cost us 6-6s? He cost me a few, but way less than most everybody else, because I was a massive underweight on him this week. So he's the bubble boy for the 8Ks. 7K, my first play is HV3, but I think he's going to be a lot of people's first play in the 7,400. There is a chance by tomorrow night that I either take a light stance or fade. I think he's going to be one of the top 3 owned at that price. I think his price is low. Again, that's what we talked about. You got HV3 at 74. Not much difference between him and a Kokrak, a Kisner, even Connors, Redmond. I mean, he's got that upside. He played there in 2018, 23rd. Missed a cut up to Bermuda, but then got a 15th at Houston. Looked good at Houston. He's second in stat model for me. 10th, 2nd, 9th, 5th, and 27th in the 5 stats. He looks great. I just wonder how high he's going to be. And so this is where we get, especially on E9 and stuff like that with the community, it's like, all right, you can like all these players, but if you start loading up on HV3, Redmond, and then, let's assume Webb's going to be chalky, maybe Kisner or maybe Connors after the good finish. So you get that many chalky guys in it gets hard to make unique builds. And so you have to find the spot where you feel most comfortable in taking a stance. For me last week, it was Bryson and Kokrak. This week, it could be totally different. I mean, maybe I go, I just think Webb's that good. I don't want to miss out on it. Don't know. We'll have to kind of see how that shakes out, especially during the deep dive and all that. That's why it's important to be a member. Second in this range for me, Bermuda Burns, go back there again. 7th at Houston, looked great. 7,700, like him, another guy, just as much as some of these 8 guys, 9. He obviously will be, I think he could be a little bit popular. 37th here in 2018, so I like he's seen the course, made the cut, did okay. 21st in my overall stat model, 8th in recent form, 13th in overall model for me this week. Good price for him. Loves Bermuda. We know that. I'll probably have him no matter what, because I just trust him on Bermuda more than anywhere else he's at. So that's a spot, like if they're both chalky and they're both pretty close to each other between HV3 and Burn, may have to make a call there. My last one is Norlander. I'm interested to see where people come in on him. I don't know if he's going to be under the radar or not. His history is pretty good here. Like I said, a 2nd, a 54th, a 54th, and a 5th. Recent form, not so much. 2 missed cuts, but if you go deep dive into those missed cuts, he was right there both times. I don't mind going back to him. It wasn't like he was missing a cut by 6 shots or anything like that. Stats-wise, he's top 16 in the field for me. Do worry a little bit about, putting. He's just average. But he's obviously done well here, so he knows these greens, and this layout looks to do good for him. So that didn't worry me too much. Probably one of my biggest stance this week will be very high on Norlander. 69 or less. Again, I'm not as fired up. There's some spots here that I like. A lot of them aren't truly that, but they're 6,000 for a reason, right? They're not historically great on the putting side, but that's why they're in this range for the most part. Some are good stats, some are good here. So you just kind of got to figure out which ones you like. For me, I forgot Bubble Boy. I got to get used to that. Joel Damon. I like him. 7,400, I believe. He's right up there. You go. Joel, 18th in my rankings. One of those guys, roller coaster here. Miscut, 49, 37 miscut. He had an 8th at the Zozo. Hadn't played since the Zozo. So possible little rust there is really the only reason why I put him as a bubble boy. So he took off Bermuda, Houston, obviously didn't make the Masters. Had he had him little, if he had played Houston and done well, a little more, hadn't had it, he's going to have a month off. He'd probably be in my play my pick list, tier list, but because of that, he was the bubble boy in the 7K range. Doesn't mean I won't play him. Certainly will look at him for sure. 6K range. So I like this. Kind of goes back to Houston. I like Hahn still. He's 16th in my model. He's average on the putting, not horrible, but not. He's just right there midfield. 50th at Houston, but the price 6,900. Get us a made cut and give us upside on the weekend. He's 23rd in my stat model though, so I do like that. 17th in recent form, 19th in course fit. Tee to green game here last year, even though he missed the cut, was pretty good. Just struggled putting, so little concern there, but I do like him. Martin Laird, Party Marty, not a guy I go to a lot, but $6,800. He's got a 54th and a missed cut here. He's right there around the same range as James Hahn on the putting side, midfield. 11th in the stat model, though. I like that. He kind of fits that prototype guy here who's won. I just, in general, like him. Had a missed cut at Houston, but 6,800, you're going to have to, if you want to go down this far, these are a few guys that just stick out to me. And last is John Huh. Liked him a lot at Houston. He made the cut. I think he was like 62 or 6,300. Small price bump to 66, but still enough where if you make the cut, that pays off. It'll pay off fine, especially on a low 6-6 week. He's got history here, which I like. 27th, 37th, a missed cut. Didn't play here last year. Stat model, he's 25th for me. 8th and birdie or better in the field. So a lot of upside there at 6,600. I like John Huh. Bubble boy for me, Scott Stallings. Slowly, keeps improving his game. Obviously, we've seen the huge fit transformation, not as crazy as like the Bryson deal. I think his was just more to get in shape, not necessarily beef up like in that way. Decent course history here. $6,800 again. 70th, 68th, miscut, then a 35th. 26th at the Bermuda, which I like. That it can be windy there at the Bermuda, and so if the wind picks up, did there. Miscut at Houston. 29th on my stat model. Course history kind of kept him out of the three I liked a little bit, but bubble boy for me, Scott Stallings. My flop, fade, and sleeper. My flop of the week is Jason Day, 9,500. I'm just not on him. Haven't been on him for a while. If he showed some signs last week. I just don't know where his overall game is. And at that price, I just don't want to pay 9,500 for him right now. He hasn't played this at least in the last 4 years, so I didn't really like that either. He's 61st on my stat model. He does putt well. We know that, and putts well in Bermuda. 7th at Houston. So, he's got upside. Of those guys up there, he's the guy I think that won't return the value this week. My fade is Mackenzie Hughes. I think he could get talked up, 8,100. He won here in 2016. But prime example, what I talked about, a win and then miscut, barely made the cut, finished 65th. So hasn't done much since he won. But the course history, he'll probably get a bump for winning it. 41st at Zozo, 7th at Houston. So pretty decent kind of form coming in. Overall, stat-wise, he just doesn't fit. He's 61st in my model, 62nd in stats. He relies a ton on the around the green and putting. So can he do it? Absolutely. 8,100. There's so many guys in the 7 and 8s I like this week that if he's going to be a chalky guy just based on, his short game and his history here, having a win, no thanks. I'll fade Mackenzie Hughes this week. My sleeper right now, which is a guy that I currently have under 5% own, is Christoph Ventura. Been on him a lot. He's up and down. He's had up and down weeks, 7,000 even. He missed a cut here last year, but he's another guy. If you go back and look, tee to green was pretty good last year, just struggled putting. He's a little bit better than midfield and Bermuda putting in general. Stat wise, he's just okay, 55th. But as a low owned guy, if you got him 2 to 4% type of deal, definitely worth someone to, as a sleeper to put into your. He's just shown form and done well. Even though he got a 64th at Houston, had a bad, just didn't finish strong. It was up there for a little while. He's just a guy I like in general. I've talked about him a ton. He's an Oklahoma State boy. He's kind of in the shadows of Wolf and Hovland and those guys. So definitely someone I'd keep my eye on for a cheap flyer guy under 5%. My gut feels like I said, these guys are guys that are 30th, 40th or lower in my current rankings, but there's signs there that I like. Gligic, 6,400, cheap guy, shown sparks here in the last, since the reboot, 11th at the Bermuda. So, again, another can be windy place. played well there. Missed the cut here last year. I think he's playing some of his better golf right now. So he's a guy I'm keeping my eye on, just a gut feel. Camilo Villegas, I mentioned he lost in a playoff here. Obviously the sad news with his daughter, but second in 2016, missed the cut in 17, hasn't played since then. A 55th at Bermuda and a missed cut at Houston. But he's 26th in my stats overall. Around the greens, not the best. Birdie or better hadn't been the best, but the ball striking's been there. Irons have been there. Approach has been there. So maybe if he can get up and down and putting pretty decent, and he just does not putt very good on Bermuda. One of the worst in the field right now. So that's the risk with him, but he's the dead man. So if, gut feel there, if you're wanting a super flyer and he's not going to be 2%. So, you could throw 3 or 4 if you're doing a big MME build on him. CH3, like what I saw at the Masters. I think he's, slowly game improving. Long term, he rates out probably better, but if you just over recently, he's just not very high up in my model. He's got hit or miss here, a 13th, a miscut, a first, a miscut. He's 67th in my model overall right now. He may move up on the deep dive. 46th at the Masters, so made the cut, did okay. Obviously, he likes his course. He's won it, but he's also missed the cut. So at 8,200, little risk reward, but I do like him this week. I think he's on the right side of it right now. And then Hank Lebioda is my last little gut feel. In general, just a guy that has shown signs. He's 71st in my deal. 16th at Bermuda, so that caught my eye, especially if the winds get up. Last 2 years here, a 32nd, a 30th, but he's like 86th in my stat model. So, so the form's been good. He's played here pretty good. $6,400 if you're wanting to find a flyer that low. He's kind of my last gut feel of the week. As always, sign up for Monkey Night Fight. They sponsor the betting part of the pod. Gupscorner.com/affiliates. Click on the link there. Use the code GUPS, GUPS, and you get 100% on your first deposit match. They did a little promo for us for the Masters. Looking to get another one going for football and stuff like that. I did release Monkey Night Fight plays each round of the Masters, and I'll do it this week for RSM, and I'll slowly start doing it I'll do it for football as well, just trying to finalize some stuff with him there. But great place. Did well last week on the ones I released. I know we came out positive. I hadn't really re-summarized all of it, but it's fun. It's us against them. It's kind of a book deal, but you can bring in fantasy. They have scoring. It's a prop deal. You're basically picking 2 to as many as sometimes 5 guys, and the harder, quote unquote, it is, the multiplier gets higher. So you can have 5x, 10x, 20x. But there's a lot of ways just to triple your money there. They'll have 2 guys and you're over under on fantasy points or over under on scoring. I put out at least 1 to 3 plays each day, sometimes just one, because I don't want to force the play, just like betting, right? You just put out what you like, but I try to put some out there. You can follow those just like a bet, or you can do your own. Good side, they're growing tremendously, and our relationship with them is growing as well. Just my 10 off the cusp betting is kind of how I normally do it. HV3 70 to 1, Neiman 40 to 1, Harmon 40 to 1, Redmond 55 to 1, Burns 50 to 1, Norlander 100 to 1, Gooch 66 to 1. That's a name I really hadn't said, but he's in that mix of right there in the middle. I like him this week. Ventura 125 to 1, Will Gordon 125 to 1. Another guy I hadn't mentioned yet, but there's 150 guys. I can't mention them all. Like him, I've played him a lot. Top 30 in my rankings. The Vegas I like, as he's 400 to 1. I think that number will be a great top 20 bet. I don't know if initially you could sprinkle some on the outright if you want, but he's a top 20 for me. If you obviously I'll have my outright card out today, and then full card out tomorrow for betting on the site. Free bet of the week, Redmond 55 to 1, and you can get that number a little better if you shop around. No one and done this week. Like I said, it'll start back up. I believe with the Sony, we don't do the tournament champions one and done. So Sony Open. Follow JB. Make sure he'll get all the information out on when signups start for the one and done next year. I've already had guys even DMing me asking, how do I sign up? I'm like, just pay attention to it'll be blasted all over the place by Gups Corner, JB, and all that. So you'll see it. You have plenty of time. So no one had done this week. That is over. Congrats to all the winners there. Ended up only having 1 skin winner. So a solo guy made 4,000, I think, on the skin. So that's awesome for him. A lot of strategy there. I think, people look at different stuff, review it, and I think it'll get stronger and stronger as no matter where your one and done is. It's a fun deal. It's kind of like a survivor pool or something like that. Except for you get in, there's so many different segments and all that. Also keeps you focused the whole year, even down to the end, because you can be out of it on the main and still fighting for the last segment. This year was a little difficult because you planned your year out potentially, then everything got mixed and thrown out, and you kind of you had so many big tournaments here at the end. So certainly a grind and a battle, and appreciate everybody's patience there. And JB did an amazing job as always with that. Final thoughts, as always, Wednesday, 4:30 Eastern, E9. If we have enough interest in going in that, last week was amazing. Kenny Kim was in there. Masters, obviously, we'll see what this week looks like. I'll certainly do it. Always have, if you guys are interested. Probably will be doing it because I think the weather is going to be a big factor, and I want to vocalize that instead of just putting out stuff. Premium members only. It's a good reason to sign up. One of the best things I do out there. Have fun with the community, and they ask great questions that get some thoughts going. Biggest thing, obviously, final thoughts. Just appreciation and thank you from me, the team, and everybody. My team, I think personally, Saturday night, Sunday night, how much I appreciate all them working really hard to grow this thing, provide you guys hopefully with the best value in the industry. Certainly means a lot to me and my wife. When you put your all into something and you walk away from a corporate job that was extremely paying well, and you take a risk, there's always that nervousness, especially for me. I'm generally an accountant, finance, conservative background, but there is, gratifying parts of when you start succeeding a little bit and building. We're still in major growth mode, so still a long way to go to where I want to get the community at, but I certainly is super happy where it's at now. And the family atmosphere that's in our Slack is second to none in the industry. So I appreciate you guys. And I truly believe 2020 is just going to be amazing for us. The growth in the PGA tools, what we grow out and build through the rest of this year in NFL, college football, but what we debut for 2021 is going to be amazing. Some of the foundation plans we have set there. So, thanks for your support now, especially all you guys that did the full access. So you get all the tools. Obviously football's a foundation piece right now and limited to compared to what we want to be, but we brought it in-house, so we control it. We're building it from scratch, and it'll be a big focal point of us in 2021 as well. So I'm looking forward to it. With that, the winners of the March to the Masters promo, the putter was Michael Collins. The GC gift pack is Kevin Ferguson. So the gift pack will have a piece of every merchandise in our store, all of it, the hoodie, the hat, the old combo pack, all of it. You get one of each. And then I also have some mastered items coming that you will get as well for winning that. It'll probably be well over $300, $400, $500 worth of gear by the time you're all said and done. So that'll be awesome for you. And then third place, $100 DFS money is Jorah Price. I think I said the first name right, Jorah. So you three are the winners. I don't know if those guys are in Slack or not. Obviously they had to be a member or sign up, do all that, the criteria. So hopefully they're in Slack and we can get them quickly. Just DM me or at Gups Corner. We'll get the information we need to get everything sent out to you guys. Appreciate it. Congrats to all you guys. Appreciate all the support and the growth in the last, especially since the reboot. Going to be amazing 2021, but we still have a lot to accomplish here in 2020. Hope you guys have a blessed week, and I'll see you premium members tomorrow for E9. Thanks.